Hi, welcome to Two Italian Women
And the stories they tell
with Erica Martin
and Diane Bovalino.
and our wonderful guest star, Miss
Marcie LOVEll,
of.
LOVEll Counseling, LLC.
We loved Miss LOVEll so much that after our first podcast with her, we asked her to stick around and see if she might expand upon some of the things that we talked about in our last episode. So thank you so much for being able to do that. So I think we all had a consensus after our last podcast that intuition plays such a huge part in either what propels us toward what we need to do or prevents us by not listening on the things that we need to do. So who wants to jump in on this one? Marcie, you made some great points.
Yeah,
actually.
Marcie wants
she
to.
really did.
Go, Marcie. So what I was saying was that intuition is very strong and often will guide you into a certain direction. However, as an empath, we think more about how it's impacting other people, which might prevent us from moving forward.
Mm.
So what we tend to do is, we'll listen to our intuition, take in what other people are saying, but then not move forward as a result of not wanting to hurt them.
That's so beautifully said. Really, that's so beautifully said. It's like staying long past the expiration date.
It's staying long past the so you compromise and with yourself, which you shouldn't do. You should be like, staying
Bolt cutters.
True to yourself. True to yourself.
I got it down. Bolt cutters.
Maybe.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I totally lost my train of thought now.
We support you. You got this.
Yeah, you do.
But if you listen to your intuition and you say true to yourself, then it'll allow you to move forward. However, you have to move it beyond worrying about what the other people are thinking or how it's going to impact them. So you stay for in my experience, people tend to stay in relationships too long because they're afraid of the impact of them terminating that relationship or changing that relationship on the other person.
And sometimes, just to kind of elaborate on what you're saying, it may be the fear of the unknown, of being alone or being with yourself, or the change of the lifestyle or the people involved in your life. And that gets really tricky, right? But when you're truly following your intuition, which I call following the divine, you're never alone.
I love that.
You're never alone. And so what I have learned personally is that when my intuition speaks to me, I don't even question it anymore. I just follow the divine. If they say in my heart, in my
But what if
body,
it feels uncomfortable for you?
Sometimes that's growth, right? To work through that uncomfortable space and trusting in what I know might be coming from my ego, right? From the stories I tell myself or the worries about other people and their feelings. But when I'm following the divine, it's like I'm following the path that, like you said, the most authentic path that's kind of being laid out for me. Wasn't easy to do, and I'm not going to say I execute it beautifully every time. But when it comes to big things, and Diane, I don't know, maybe you weigh in. I think we're all in like a different space with this, and we've all had our own work and practice, but I think you're supposed to be uncomfortable.
Well, getting through the uncomfortable is where change happens.
Correct.
I just know for me, when I made the decision to leave my 20-year marriage, which was a very difficult decision, but I know I spent 7 years by myself before I met my now fiance. And I know that I focused on not being alone because I focused on loving myself. Mm-hmm. And I focused on the fact that I had my 2 boys, I had my friends, and I had my family. But I had to learn to love myself, right, before I got into another relationship. But still, there was the points of very uncomfortableness. So I would just focus on that I was with my spirit guides, I was with the divine on those lonely nights. So I, took my intuition and, focused on that. And I did use, just to jump on kind of, what you guys are getting at. But yes, I just tried to focus on, hey, I'm not alone. I got the spirit guides.
And actually, when you're with that, you're really the least alone, in my experience I've ever been.
Once you open up to it.
Yeah, because it was lonelier to be in a relationship where you are not understood or validated or nurtured, or you can't be yourself, you can't expand upon your gifts. There's like a blockage for you. That to me was more lonely than being, quote, alone. Because look at it, we have this wonderful soul tribe all around us. We speak the same language. I just learned to like kind of follow the divine and like get out of my head, because when you think about your intuition, I guess we all have maybe
It's not up here, it's down here.
it's down here, it's in your gut, and there's more neuroreceptors linked to your gut, to your brain than anywhere else in your body, right? So when you say intuition, we all may have a different idea. Actually, this actually brings up a good conversation of what the intuition is. It's like that sixth sense that we talk about. I think that's my soul. That's my personal belief, is that when my
That's your whole self.
yeah,
That's your complete self.
yeah, like our spiritual guru that we all went to see, Lois.
Yep.
Hi, Miss Lois. She all kind of taught us she was jumpstarting certain facets of the journey. We were all in different places, having different experiences. But the one thing she said to me, which I loved, she's like, on a soul level, your soul chose you. It knew exactly what it was signing up for. Wasn't always going to be good, wasn't always going to be pretty, but that soul chose you, your family, your lineage, your experiences, your personality, whatever it was going to be, to reach its purpose. And she also said, and I believe this is to be true. I do. It's beautiful when you think about it, right? She also explained to me that the soul will always honor your free will to do whatever it is you choose to do. But when you're heading in the right direction, or you have those passions and those little, sparks of things, and that reaction kind of leading you, kind of gets excited. God bless you. Yes. It kind of gets excited. Like, oh yes, this is what I came here to do. Do it. And so there's like so much fear and anxiety though, about really stepping into that soul part.
Yeah.
Right. It's intimidating, but really it's I think it's what it's all about. Like
It's
when we started
sure.
this podcast, for God's sakes, Diane's like, I think we're being called to do this. Okay, I think you're right. Let's do it. Let's go make a fool out of ourselves if we have to. And we didn't even question it. And even more beautiful, we have wonderful souls like Miss Marcie over here, or Miss Bridget behind the camera, who's like, yeah, I believe in it too. Come on, sounds good. And she just started developing her love of photography and videography and stuff. And so it just kind of, it came together exactly as it was intended.
And it was just amazing. I just have to say this right now that I got to know Bridget through Erica, and it turns out that Bridget is related to my yoga instructor, who I got my 200-hour yoga, who I just love dearly. And just what a small,
there's no coincidence.
World it is.
And actually, are we talking about Katie?
Yeah.
Hi, Katie. And Katie helped us when we were starting to figure out the logistics of how we start launching this podcast. And so like what a gift she was, right? And we hadn't talked in how long?
4 years.
And then suddenly
Monday.
Did your intuition call you? I don't mean to make
absolutely.
Okay, so can you talk about like that was the way you really did honor your intuition?
I think that I was feeling the need to connect with people who understand my authentic self, who could connect with my authentic self. Because when you're not surrounding yourself with people that get you, you start to lose touch with that. And I wanted to be around more people who would nurture, support, embrace that power that's in everybody. I mean, we all have it, but when it's not valued, it gets diminished. And it's almost like the light goes out. And so I felt my light went out. And
Oh, and
We
you have
don't
such a
want that.
beautiful light.
I know.
You know?
yeah. So I wanted to be around people who would help re-spark my light. And I think that, because that's what it felt like. It felt like there was this dullness. And I also think that when you start realizing that you want growth and change, that you have to surround yourself with people who are not going to pacify you, but stay true to what the real deal is.
And may I say something as a metaphor? Because I think the divine's fun. I mean, I think it has a sense of humor. I think you were talking about your light going out and really feeling called. And today, Bridget brought in her lights for the first time. They are huge. I know you can't see them. They are gigantic. Like you're literally surrounded by this light that's really focused on you. And so I don't know, I thought that was an amusing metaphor.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I needed to be in the light, and sure enough, here you are, light surrounding you everywhere. As it should be. As it should be.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
It is beautiful. And thank you, Bridget, for all your hard work. You're the best.
Bolt cutters.
And I
Bolt
just,
cutters!
you know, right now I just am like, you know, thinking how Reiki brought all three of us together.
And
And
for
Michael.
Bridget also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Michael brought us, and Michael, our Reiki master who taught all of us, and how he said that Erica and I needed to stay connected.
He did.
And we'd be doing something together. And I never thought it would be a podcast.
Mm-mm.
I know we were doing other stuff together,
But actually, I don't think he even quantified whether it would be work or not. But he said, you two, like he was very stern, you two need to stay in contact with one another. And it was interesting because when Michael taught the class, he had someone co-facilitating it. Her name was Jen, and she wrote down notes for all of us. And right before Diane and I started the podcast, I was cleaning through things in my house, and I had like this little Audrey Hepburn notebook thing. And I opened it. It was the handwritten notes from Michael.
Oh, wow.
Saying you and Diane absolutely must. I'm telling you, there is an importance in the two of you staying connected. Now, things didn't manifest at that time, but that's the whole point. You know, the divine is going to lead you. It's not going to be on our time.
No.
And
They plant seeds.
correct.
and here Marcie is with us today is what I wanted to mention, you know,
Yeah.
also mention.
Yeah. And he talked about, it's interesting. There were several of us in the group. He talked about how one should be more serious about her nursing career. She's now a doctor.
Wow.
He talked about, if you don't mind me sharing, how beautiful you are and what a beautiful soul you have, and how he wants you to really follow more in that divine. And here you are. He talked about our connection. And I just think it's so beautiful because energy is energy. Some people are really gifted at reading that energy and telling you, you know, what to honor, what to look for. And I think when you are walking with the divine, you're willing to look. You want to keep your eyes open. So.
And I remember him, I remember one of the readings being step into your, step into yourself. And I remember him saying, you're gifted at the Reiki. And, you know, I know Reiki opened my intuition, and I knew I had the intuition. I think naturally as a gift being an empath. And then I know I followed that intuition to open Lotus Soul Healing Arts. And I always had a dream of opening my own business. Didn't think it would be Reiki healing, which I know there's more to it than that, but Reiki still is the foundation of the business. So, but I'm just, you know.
No, that's beautiful. And the other part is we're all business owners, which does tend to make me believe that we really do follow our intuition and our passions maybe more than we give ourselves credit for. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't take those risks in the first place. It's true. Right?
Yes.
So thanks for joining us. And by the way, if you would please give us a like if we've earned it, subscribe to our channel every Tuesday, new podcasts come out. And we want to thank Marcie again for being here on Two Italian Women. And
And for those listening to our podcast, if you're on Spotify, if we've earned a 5-star, we'd appreciate that. If you're listening to us on Amazon Music, we read all the reviews and they help our ratings. And everyone listening to us out on the other platforms for the podcast, any other rating, we truly appreciate that and we are following that. So thank you.
to
Erica. I
Italian women,
appreciate that.
to Italian women,
Signing off.
and the stories we tell are signing off. Bolt cutters.
Bolt cutters.
Full cutters.
Thanks for joining.